fellow St. Lucians, this is Openmike, and we're now back to the fourth and final segment of our program. While we're on the subject of siltation, we're going to move slightly from the inner part of St. Lucia, and we're going to go and concentrate now on what is happening in the Choiseul area. Many St. Lucians may be aware or not aware of what is happening in the Choiseul Bay. Since the construction of a seawall for the fisheries in that area by the Japanese and their organization in the construction of the fisheries project there, a serious problem has arisen whereby hundreds or thousands of cubic yards of sand appears to be silting the Choiseul area and causing untold difficulties and challenges for the people. The kind of challenges that are being witnessed are the sealing off of the area, so the wastewater from the Choiseul area just stays and can cause, I wouldn't go as far as saying an epidemic, but it is certainly not very hygienic because the water is stagnant and it has a very strong odor, and the fishermen are unable to use the fishing complex because the mouth of the entrance keeps silting up at a rate too fast for even excavators to deal with, and it is a very costly exercise. As a layman, I looked at it several times because my heart goes out for the fishermen in that area and also the people of Choiseul. And I've been told that with the proper exercise, a groin could in fact be placed that would probably stop the silting at the mouth of that bay. But now that I have a qualified engineer here with me today and one who is familiar with St. Lucia, I posed the question to him, and I would love to hear from him and advise St. Lucians, because it's a very challenging situation as to where all this material is coming from and what can be done to stop it and help the people in Choiseul who are experiencing great difficulties. Lester.
Okay. I must say I was also faced with that challenge. I had to deal with that situation on several times as I was chief engineer. And I can tell you, as fast as you remove that material, it would clog back up. I remember at one point in time, Will Rock Quarry from Labrie came in with all his equipment and trucks and whatnot, and removed all of that material free of charge for us. And no sooner than he could have cleared it, it was back to being silted up.
Just roughly, how many cubic meters of stuff do you think he took away?
He took away a good couple 100 yards. Because a few 100 yards.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it could be up to about 1,000 because he was using his big quarry trucks, which is about 20 yards, and he did quite a bit of
Was he able to use that material for in any way?
It was used for backfilling, backfilling and landscaping.
So is it a sand?
It's a sandy, silty kind of material. It's a very fine particles that's in it. I have always had my concerns with the origin of that material, because it's more of a longshore drift in that area. Mm-hmm. The thing is with that area, from what some marine friends of mine have told me, is that you have a bit of a, how would I put it, that sometimes the surface currents are doing one thing, but the undertow in that area, the undercurrents, are something totally different. So you find that the two are not synchronous, and there's a lot going on in that area. Mm-hmm. So you find that that longshore drift, which is predominantly island-wide, is north to south. That material has to be coming from somewhere north of that Choiseul Bay. But where is it coming from? The only major river you have, or sand source you have between there and Soufrière, is the Soufrière River. Mm-hmm. Okay? But how often does the Soufrière River come down or is flooded to bring down whatever debris or whatever quantum of debris that can come down in the Sufa River to affect that bay. So there's something that a detailed analysis has to be done for at least one full year to observe the cycles of the rainy season and dry season, to see what is happening in terms of the flows, the currents and whatnot in that area. And then from then, once that can be determined, then you can come up with an appropriate engineering design. Because like I said, a groin can work, but the thing is with groins have areas of deposition and erosion that takes place. If you put a groin in any place, in terms of the flow direction, it will erode on the upper side and deposit on the lower side.
Got you.
And what you can find happening is that you might even exacerbate the problem of erosion in doing those things. So we have to be very careful when looking at groins, even with breakwaters and all these kind of things. So you have to design appropriately when you consider these hard engineering solutions. A similar type problem also exists at the Roseau Bay. If you have ever gone to the Roseau Bay, you would see that happening. At one point in time, we used to be giving out sand permits for sand mining in the Roseau Bay, because as fast as you desilted that river mouth, especially during the dry season, soon next morning you come back and you just swear you have not removed any material from that area. That is how fast that area was resilted overnight. And you ask yourself, where is this material coming from? Certainly not upstream, because there's hardly any water flowing in the river.
Right.
All you have is onshore drift and longshore drift taking place in those areas. So where is the material coming from? Is it coming from out in the ocean, or from the movement of particles, sediment transportation along the coastline, or whatever the case might be? That is left to be answered. So trying to solve that problem.
Yeah. I am familiar with Choiseul because I've been going there from the time I'm a boy. And prior to this construction of the fisheries project, that problem didn't exist. So what really happened? Where was all that drift going?
Well,
anyway?
that's what I'm saying, that a detailed survey needs to be conducted to determine where that material is originating and what is the intended path of it. Because like I said, I mean, the way that the fisheries complex is constructed, if that material was moving there before, it would have to be going southwards.
Correct.
Now, which means that it is now trapped.
And because of the way the currents and everything operates, and remember, like I said earlier on, any moving body of water that reaches a certain velocity, once it starts to slow down and it passes a certain velocity, materials will be deposited out of solution, depending on their weight and size. So the same thing would be happening with the ocean currents in that area, based upon the way the facility was constructed.
But tell me something, Lester. As chief engineer, I'm sure you made several trips down to Choiseul.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Would you accept the fact that, from a hygienic point of view, it's terrible what's going on in Choiseul?
Well, I've been there when the water has become very septic and the odor is very, very severe. Because what you find happening is that the oxygen content in the water is depleted so much by whatever microorganisms they have in the water, or any kind of living creatures, well, fish or whatever the case might be in the water. They use up the oxygen, and you find the water start to get septic because of the algae and the whole biochemistry of the water.
And even when I've driven there, the very sand, there's a horrible odor coming from the sand.
Well, the base, all of these
and
things
that cannot be healthy
all
for
of these
the people
things.
down there,
I mean, it is a bit, and it becomes an eyesore. Because you have a whole set of algae growing in that water and everything. And like I said, the stench becomes unbearable.
Okay. Anyway, that's as far as that is concerned. And so going back now to the situation of our the Castries area. That's another area which has worried me tremendously. I understand that yesterday, there was a lot of flooding in the Castries area again. I have walked around the Castries area for the last 5, 6, 7 years, And as I mentioned to you earlier, the Prince Alfred Basin was the main area where all the drains in the Castries, the drainage of Castries entered. And when that was filled, the problem started. And if you go and you stand up, for instance, by the Banana Association building and watch the drains, the water is just not moving. A question for you. If a heavy drain was put in, say, from around that, taking that whole road running parallel to where the fire station is now, a very good drain to get into the Castries River by the fire station, and also take it down to Queen's Lane, right to the end down there. Because I noticed a lot of the drains there are just blocked. The covers for the drains have fallen inside. In fact, I was driving there last year and my car went down and I had some damage in my car because the slab was kind of weak. And it's awful because, you know, if you have a city and you have all this flooding going on, I'm not going to deny the fact that the people living in Castries have to share a fair amount of blame by throwing the garbage everywhere, and that blocks the drains. But by the same token, if there was an outlet, as a chief engineer, when you were in charge, did you ever notice, I'm sure you must have walked in that area down there to see, is there drainage sufficient to take that water away from Castries?
Okay, the thing is, the Castries drainage has been a much talked about topic for many, many years. So much so that there have been several reports done on the whole issue of Castries drainage and the solutions to be adopted for it. It brings me back to the point where I was making that at the time, at the time of the Prince Alfred Basin and even before filling it, you had very little development in and around Castries at that time. So you find now that your runoff was a lot less. Your volumes of water entering the basin was less than what it is now. If you look at the level of development that has taken place, you're now at almost 100% runoff, total runoff. And given the size of the Castries Basin, okay, the whole Castries water catchment, it is a very large catchment area, and which means that you have a lot of water coming into the Castries River.
Yeah, but without cutting you short, that having been said, if we are aware of that, the greater the input, the greater the outlet should be. So in other words, if you have a lot of water coming in there, should it not have been seen over the years that they should create an outlet for the water, similar to what they say they did, for instance, in the botanical gardens? I don't know how successful that is, but let us assume it has been successful.
The thing is, over the years, a lot has been done to mitigate against the flooding that has been taking place. The last one being the upgrading or the resizing of the pumps at the Vendors Arcade, and also the pumps at the Queen's Lane area.
Right.
Those two pumping stations. The pumps have been upgraded so that you have the extraction rate or the pumping rate of those pumps a lot higher than what was there before.
Did you say there are pumps in the Queen's Lane area?
Well, it is actually, the pump station is actually on Slasser's compound. It is behind the building.
Oh,
there's a pump.
And it works?
Those pumps
I
work.
wasn't even aware
There
of
are
that.
two pumps in each of those buildings.
Okay.
And what you find is that, like I said, because if you have more water coming in, it means that you have to be pumping out a lot more.
Yeah.
So that is why those pumps are upgraded.
Yeah.
So when you have limitations in terms of being able to expand the size of the drains or construct bigger drains, you have to look at other solutions, and that's one of the reasons why the pumps were upgraded and to what they are now. With regards to the gardens,
this is a very interesting conversation, but we are running out of time, and the essence of time, I'm going to have to ask Lester to come back again to highlight a bit more, because I was not even aware there were pumps down there in that area. I'm glad to hear that. But on that score, we have to say to our fellow St. Lucians that we've just come to the end of our program, and we will be back at another time where we can go further into the subject. Lester, it was very nice having you here today.
Pleasure being here.
Yeah, I know that in the essence of time we had to end our questions to you, but it was quite interesting, and I look forward to having you.
Sure, anytime.